Week 5 of the NBA 2021-22 season is in the books, which means it's time to run it back. This is Run It Back, NBA Week in Review.
The voice of the fan. Drop a bounce pass, throw down the rim rocker. Lay up off the glass, right past the shot blocker. I follow through like Kobe's is money. You can cash it. For news on LA hoops, come over to Beach Basket. Up to date sports, post game reports, debates and play-by-play coming straight off the court. The voice of the fan making noise, causing havoc. Zone a man up, you can ask Peach Basket. The Peach Basket, coming tune on there. The Peach Basket, where the news begins. We're dropping news like we're in the stands. Creative views from the avid fans.
This is the show where we recap the week that was in the NBA, then take a deep dive into select teams with our team of fan experts. Tonight, we'll get updates on the Los Angeles Lakers from Derek Lavelle, Chicago Bulls from Noah Gedkin, and Miami Heat from Isaac Edelman of our partner site, flteams.com. But before we hear from them, we want to take a look back at the week that was. These are the marquee matchups for each day in Week 5. This is the NBA Rapid Recap for Week 5. On Saturday, November 13th, there were 7 games in the association. The best matchup was between Eastern and Western Conference powerhouse teams Miami Heat and Utah Jazz. The Heat went to Utah and beat the Jazz 111-105. On Sunday, November 14th, there were another 7 games. The spotlight on Sunday was on the Western Conference, Los Angeles to be exact. The Los Angeles Clippers hosted and lost to the real deal Chicago Bulls 100-90. Monday, November 15th, had 11 games scheduled. The Western Conference was once again front and center, with the Denver Nuggets traveling to Dallas to face the Mavericks. Kristaps Porzingis had a great game, just about matching reigning MVP Nikola Jokic's output, and the Mavericks won 111-101. Only 3 games on Tuesday, November 16th. The highlight on this light NBA day was the resurgent Golden State Warriors taking on the Brooklyn Nets in Brooklyn. Steph Curry had 7 rebounds and 5 assists, along with 37 points, and MVP chance on the road to lead the Warriors to the victory 117-99. Another 11 games on Wednesday, November 17th. The then Eastern Conference leading Washington Wizards played the exciting Charlotte Hornets in Charlotte and lost 97-87. 6 games on Thursday, November 18th. The Philadelphia 76ers went to Denver to take on the Nuggets. Despite another big game from Nikola Jokic, the 76ers, behind a balanced attack, won the game 103-89. Finally, on Friday, there were 9 games played, and the marquee matchup was between the 2 most decorated franchises in NBA history, the Los Angeles Lakers and Boston Celtics. This was a tightly contested and well-played game for one half. Unfortunately for the Lakers, the second half was mandatory. The Celtics were led by Jason Tatum and his 37 points. The Celtics won at home 130-108. All right, that was the rapid recap for Week 5. Now we're going to get into select team recaps from our team of fan experts. We're going to crisscross the country and talk first to Derek Lavelle. All right, let's start with the Los Angeles Lakers. Derek, how are you first? Let me get started there. You good?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Outstanding. I'm good. It was a good week of basketball. Maybe not so much so for the Los Angeles Lakers, but is your recap? So tell us what happened with the Lakers this week.
It's been doom and gloom in LA. The Lakers went 1-3 this week in all 4 games, with unfortunately the only win coming against the lowly Spurs. We gave up, unfortunately, to the Bulls, Bucks, and last night against the Celtics, which we all hate, an average of 120 points over those 3 losses. Now, A lot of the conversation this year has been about Russell Westbrook. He's a superstar, MVP, top 75 player all time. We know the credentials. We know he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And we know he has flaws in this game. Even though he's the primary ball handler, he seems to make some of the dumbest mistakes at the worst possible time.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. But Wednesday night against Milwaukee, it was an embarrassing, glaring. I can't put it into words. Honestly, that are for Twitter. That Giannis absolutely annihilated Anthony Davis.
Right.
And now at 28 years old, which you're supposed to be in the prime of your career,
Right.
Anthony Davis is regressing as a basketball player, not improving. And I have to come to ask, and we as basketball fans have to come to ask, should we turn our criticism and our wondering, are you the problem, away from Russell Westbrook and towards Anthony Davis?
Yeah.
Because Anthony Davis is the guy, he's in his prime. He's 28. He's the guy that the Lakers traded Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and basically we gave up multiple 4 first-round picks for this guy. Why? Because we didn't think we were getting a top 10 player. We didn't think we were even getting a top 5 player.
Yeah.
We thought we were getting, at worst, a top 3 player in this game. And everyone agreed. Everyone would have done the trade exactly the way the Lakers did it. And he's not performing. He's not pulling his end of the weight. And he's getting away with it because Russell Westbrook he's the low-hanging fruit of this team. He is.
Yeah.
LeBron's out with the injury. And it's easy just to sit there and say, Anthony Davis, it's your time. Now, statistically, everyone's going to come at me and say, hey, he's averaging 25 and 11. What are you talking about? Statistically, he's shooting about 52% from the field.
Right.
But this is the point that you and I have discussed. It's beyond the box score. It's beyond what you got to watch. This is why watching the game is so important. Superstar, and this is why I'm so nitpicky on using that term superstar. Superstars, you can feel the game. When you walk into the arena or when you watch the game from your living room, you can feel it. You can feel the impact. You can feel Joel Embiid's impact. You can feel LeBron James' impact. Wednesday night, Giannis came in. The Bucks were just having as disappointing season as the Lakers.
Right.
And Giannis came into that arena and says, Anthony Davis, Los Angeles Lakers, primetime game on ESPN. I'm going to show the world.
Right.
Hey, everything's going to be okay if you're a Bucks fan. And look what he did. Anthony Davis should have taken that personally. Like halfway through the second quarter, he should have been like, oh, no. I'm not allowing this to happen. I'm not having Giannis have a career game against me. Oh, no, we're not having this. And so, Jose, I want to ask you, why have we decided I don't know why I understand why the national media, but why Laker Nation haven't focused their attention on asking Anthony Davis, dude, we need more from you.
Right. Wow, this is the first time I've been doing this now for 2 or 3 seasons, and nobody's ever asked me a question. I'm kind of taken aback. I don't know what to do. I guess I'll just answer it. It's a great point. And I think you've already answered the question. The reason that the spotlight isn't, and listen, let's be real. People are upset with AD. People are frustrated, but the spotlight is on Russell Westbrook because he was brought on to be that guy. He was brought on because we knew with LeBron getting older, there were going to be stretches of time where he's going to be out. And whether it be out in a game or out for a series of games, like he just missed 8. And so Westbrook was really brought in to be that guy. So now we don't have to worry, right? We know AD, didn't really excel in that particular role. So Westbrook is going to excel in that role. Now, last half of last year, he took the Wizards on his shoulders, man, and he led them to the playoffs. So much like the Clippers, and forgive me for bringing up the other LA team, much like the Clippers brought in Rajon Rondo last season, hoping they would get playoff Rondo, and they didn't. The Lakers brought in Russell Westbrook, hoping they would get second half of the season Washington Wizards Russell Westbrook, and they didn't. They haven't yet. And so that's why AD is kind of fortunate in that sense, because because the spotlight really is on Russell Westbrook, and he's getting a lot of the blame right now. But you're absolutely right. I think what happened in Milwaukee was difficult. You saw a player and a team rise up, and another team stay the same. And you can't do that. And listen, I think the same thing kind of happened in Boston in the first. And forgive me for kind of taking the spotlight off of one game to the other. But in the first half, the Lakers played great. In the second half, they didn't rise up. Well, Jason Tatum rose to the occasion. So I hope I answered your question.
No, you did, because I think also too. I think because Russell, as frustrating of a basketball player he is, he's been consistent. He's been consistently frustrated. If you look at his year by year, you're like, oh, this is the Russell Westbrook experience. I always compared his career to Allen Iverson. Where you watch Allen Iverson and you get so frustrated, but you're like, this dude, he's going to put up 30 shots, he's going to score 30 points, but then you're always going to be like, we wanted more. Right? Russell Westbrook has always been consistent. My thing is, when I look at Anthony Davis, I expect more. I think that's the difference. And I expect more from Frank Vogel, because I need Frank Vogel or LeBron. I need somebody to be an adult in a room and tell Anthony Davis, listen, it's time to put the big boy pants on. Stop going to the media and say, I'm willing to play the 5 and lie and then go behind the scenes. Because that's the truth. He goes behind the scene, goes, I really don't want to play the 5. Please bring in DeAndre Jordan, who the Brooklyn Nets cut. In basketball, that's impossible. You don't cut guys. They cut him, and the Lakers are like, oh, we have Dwight Howard? Yeah, bring it. Yeah, sure. We will happily bring on DeAndre Jordan and then start him. So it's time for Anthony Davis to play the 5. Have LeBron James play the 4. It opens up the floor. If this team wants to play faster and be a better defensive team, you got to play Anthony Davis at the 5 for at least for this season.
All right. I got to say, I was excited to hear you harken back to the Kobe and Pau Gasol big boy pants story. I think it is absolutely applicable. I didn't really think about it, but I love that you said it. Anytime I get to think about Kobe, it's a good thing. So we got other guys to talk to, other teams to talk about. So let me leave you with this, Derek. Are the Lakers going to be okay?
It's on the shoulders of Anthony Davis at this point. It looks like this season LeBron's going to be in and out of the lineup, which once again I think this should be expected. I definitely expected this. This is year 19. This guy LeBron's going to break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time minutes record. He's going to play the most minutes in NBA history this season. And if you factor playoff minutes, he already has passed them.
Right, yeah.
So people got to understand, like, he has miles upon miles on his body, and he's not a little man. He's a big man. So that's a lot of weight to carry around. And it's time for Anthony Davis to be a superstar. This guy was the number 1 pick. He was the number 1 high school player. He was the number 1 college player coming out of the draft. He was hailed as like the next Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett hybrid. He won a title, and he was the 1B on that title team in 2020. But it's time for him to step it up and be the best player in the world. Yeah. Because I'm sick and tired of watching Giannis, and I'm sick and tired of watching Joel Embiid and being a fan of this team and look at Anthony Davis. I go, we have the better guy out of those 3. But how come he plays like he's the 3rd best guy out of those 3? Yeah. And so it's on Anthony Davis at this point.
Okay. Wow. Kind of blistering content. But I think that you've tapped into really, what a lot of Laker fans think. I thought when they went on this road trip, this was going to be not a make or break it, but really more, we'll know who this team is now. And
Yeah.
the Bucks and the Celtics have really kind of shown us what the problems are. So now it's on Vogel, it's on AD, it's on the team to see if they can't right the ship. There's still time, but there's not a lot of time left. I think, unfortunately, to right the ship. Derek, outstanding. Great Laker content. Thank you for that recap. I appreciate it. Hang tight. We'll be back with you in a minute to talk question of the day. But now we're going to remove Derek, bring in Noah Gedkin, and I'm going to then I used to make fun of our crack graphics department because I am the crack graphics department, but we got it sort of okay. There's the pin. There's roughly in Chicago. Actually, I think it's in Lake Michigan, but close enough. I hope I don't even know if I got the lake right. Noah, how are you? I appreciate you taking the time. The Chicago Bulls, by far, probably, I would call them the second most exciting team in the NBA right now. The team I am most curious to watch behind the Warriors. The Warriors, they're the Warriors again. They're pretty exciting. But the Bulls, the Hornets, definitely the Warriors. I think these teams are exciting and they're winning. The Hornets probably less so of that trio. Tell us about the week that was for the Chicago Bulls, week 5.
Thanks, Jose. Well, this week of 4 road games went pretty well, considering. We went 3-1 over the week. 2 games in LA went pretty well, thanks to LeBron not playing and Paul George having a really bad shooting night, the first game of the week. To be fair, Caruso and Lonzo are 2 greatest defenders, probably going to be on the all defensive teams this year. Really put the clamps on Paul George and Reggie Jackson. So a real grinded out game against the Clippers. Then despite shooting 20 fewer free throws than the Lakers, we still beat the Lakers by almost 20. So that was the box score is kind of deceiving. Watching that game, I felt embarrassed for the Lakers, honestly.
When did this become LeBron. A bash the Lakers show? Go ahead. You're absolutely right. Go ahead.
Well, and to throw more on that Lakers fire, DeRozan came out and said he was basically guaranteed to go to LA until Westbrook got traded. So that was another, between that and Caruso, both LA and the Bulls could look very different this year.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
Some of those moves. So I'm grateful for Rob Pelinka. But no, that Lakers game was, as a Bulls fan, fun to watch. In contrast to the next game against the Blazers, where we blew a 20-point lead at the half. So that was a little embarrassing. DeRozan didn't hit a single shot after halftime. I feel like that's the biggest contributing factor there. But overall, we looked pretty bad, which for a team that's made a bunch of comebacks, that was a bit of a surprise. I was pretty confident. I almost turned the game off at halftime, to be fair, because it looked pretty promising. And I mean, it was the Blazers, we're the Bulls. I got cocky. So humbled a bit there. But we kind of turned it around against Denver. To be fair, they still don't have Jamal Murray, obviously.
Right.
And they don't have Michael Porter Jr. or Jokic, and we won by 6. So although it was a win, Aaron Gordon torching us isn't exactly encouraging. But again, we don't have Vucevic. We didn't have him at all this week.
Right.
So we've got 6'6", I think, Derek Jones Jr. playing significant center minutes for us, which has, even though it looks pretty embarrassing on the glass, some of these dunks that lineup is producing has been fun to watch. Him and Javonte Green really came out in the second half against the Nuggets. But yeah, it's been a good week. Again, I'm very impressed with Lonzo and Caruso. As someone who really obsesses over the details of the game, specifically on the defensive end, watching those 2 guys read and react on the defensive end, feeding into the 2 great scorers we've got in Zach and DeRozan. It's pretty cool. So,
It used to be that defense was more of a team thing than an individual thing, and I'm talking decades back, right? We really didn't really. There was no spotlight on great defenders, right? The bigs usually got that title because they could block a shot from time to time. But slowly but surely, and I think Michael Jordan was kind of the start of this, we got to see what a great defender could do to a team, right? Totally disrupt an offensive set. I mean, really. And now I think we're seeing the evolution of defense in that we're seeing guys come in now that are actually really good defenders. We got guys now that's their claim to fame. Somebody like a Pat Beverly, a Lou Dort. These guys are just known to be lockdown defenders, and they've got jobs because it's important, because a lot of people don't want to do the dirty work. And, somebody like Caruso, we got to see him here in LA come up through the G League and really become who he is. But the fact that a player like him, a player like Lonzo Ball, saw that they were going to excel on the defensive side, I think is really honestly encouraging. It's good to see, and we're seeing people come in now as rookies that are actually pretty good defenders, know to move their feet, know what to do, what not to do. And I think it's kind of the evolution of the game, because we really didn't see that. If you watch games from the 70s and the 80s, it was a little, and the rules have changed, and so I certainly think that's a part of it. But there was a lot of what the great Chick Hearn used to call matador defense, right? Where one team would just stand pat, and one really fast player would just literally run right by him and to go to the hoop. I want to ask about Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball obviously was drafted here in LA. There was a lot of fanfare around it. Never really met the very high expectations that people here in LA had for him. And when I look at his numbers, and it's interesting because Derek and I were just talking about beyond the box score, his box score doesn't look all that imposing. I don't think I think if he's over a double digits in points, it's just barely. His assists, I think, are 5 or 6. And again, I might be way off, but I don't see imposing numbers in his box score. But this is a guy who impacts the game outside of that. Is that accurate? I mean, are you guys looking at Lonzo thinking, I want more production from this guy? Or are you guys fine with the production that he's given you, even though it isn't reflected in the box score?
Yeah, that's a good question. As a Bulls fan, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but he kind of reminds me of what Joakim Noah did during Derrick Rose's prime, where although they play different positions, they were sort of defensive anchors in that starting lineup. High IQ, high energy, not great scores. But at the same time, he perfectly complements the skills of Zach and DeMar offensively. When things get out of hand, he controls the pace. Those guys trust him to just hold the ball, get everything set up, and create for them, and get them the shots they need. And just the cherry on top offensively is his transition game, his ability to both get a defensive rebound if necessary and just be the outlet guy, get the ball up the court, create some of those highlight plays. That's great for energy. And defensively, I mean, he's 6'6". His switchability at the point guard spot really opens up a lot of opportunities there for creating turnovers, but also he can guard the guys that DeMar and Zach can't, because they're all relatively the same size. So that's helped us kind of cover up some of our weaknesses. So overall, he's an incredible glue guy for us. I can't imagine us having a better signing for that spot in this offseason. So kudos to the front office there. But
all right. Outstanding. Great recap for the Bulls. I think, the game that you mentioned, was it in Denver where they didn't have their best showing? Every team has one of those. I never worry about a team getting blown out by 20, 30 or losing a 30-point lead. It doesn't really matter. As long as the effort is there, every team Even the great Michael Jordan had games like that. The Warriors on their way to 73 wins had games like that. It happens. So I'm not worried. I'm excited about the Bulls. I think it's great for the NBA that they're good again. Before we jump to Florida and talk Miami Heat real quick, you know what? And we'll try and keep this short because I know we definitely want to get to the Heat, but what do you think is a realistic high water mark for these Bulls? Is this team a championship contender? Is it finals or bust for this team?
I wouldn't say it's finals or bust by any means. I am very confident we'll be a home court advantage team come playoff time.
Okay.
And if we keep up the pace we're at, and luck goes our way on some of the other teams that are looking to be at the top of the conference, like Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Philly. If those three teams stay in the state they're in, we have as good a shot as anyone at being in a finals matchup with what will probably be a better Western Conference team, especially if guys like Kawhi and Jamal Murray come back.
Yeah.
But if the Eastern Conference stays where it's at, definitely we can confidently say that we can be in the finals. So
that's exciting. That's great. I mean, it's been a while, so that's
yeah.
I think that's exciting just to say it. Certainly exciting to hear it. No, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you. Great recap. We're going to go ahead and remove. That seems like such a negative thing. I got to come up with a better word. I can't think of it now though. But we'll bring in Isaac, and I'm going to drop the pin in the general vicinity of Miami. Isaac, of course, is with our partner site, flteams.com. He is probably the longest running contributor to the Run It Back franchise. And it's always great to have him. He missed a couple of weeks. Isaac, how are you today?
How's it going, Jose? Again, as always, glad to be on here. I'll make this quick and simple. The Heat went 3-4 this 3-1. They won 3 out of the 4 games played this week. Tonight, something crazy happened, and I'm gonna request something. We'll see if Jose accepts my request. But after I'm done with the quick week in review for the Heat, will you accept my request to have everyone in here, the people that are co-hosting with us, to see a short 11-second clip of a video from the Heat game?
I'll take it under consideration. Give us your recap first.
Okay, so the Heat, again, they went 3-1 this week. They played easy teams, I'd say. They started off with the Thunder and Pelicans. They beat the Thunder 103-90. That was a game without Bam Adebayo. And then against the Pelicans, they also were without Bam Adebayo. They beat the Pelicans 113-98. Then on Thursday, the Heat played the Wizards. The Wizards, unlike the Thunder and the Pelicans, are a very, very good team. The Heat didn't have Tyler Hero in that game, yet they still won, beating the Wizards 112-97. Now tonight, the game just finished. The Heat lost by 3 points, 103-100. I'm going to give a quick synopsis of the game. The refs made some terrible calls, but we cannot make excuses. I'm not a guy that likes to make excuses. So the Heat simply lost. Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero shot very well. So did Bam and PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker got 15 points. That's definitely a very, very good takeaway from the game because we're not expecting a lot on the offensive end for Tucker. He's, a defensive anchor for the Heat, and that's why he's a starter. I just think Kyle Lowry needs to work on his shooting for the Heat. He is averaging 7 assists per game. That's very good, but he needs to work on his shooting because he's Miami's point guard. In terms of, the Heat and how they're doing this season, the Heat are very good, right? They're 11-6 right now. That's 3rd in the East. The Wizards are 2nd in the East now. The Heat are definitely finals contenders. I think we can all agree on that. They don't even have Victor Oladipo yet. And when he comes back, we'll see what his impact is. Again, Oladipo is, I don't want to say this in a bad way, but he basically is a piece of glass. So even when he finally is 100% healthy, he may get injured again. I hate to say that, but that's how his career has went so far. But anyway, the Heat are doing really good so far this season. Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero doing amazing things. Kyle Lowry has been a disappointment, and so has Duncan Robinson. Robinson currently has made a three in 65 straight games. That's very impressive, but he doesn't do anything on the defensive end, and he doesn't really do anything on the offensive end if you eliminate three-pointers, right? If the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, says there's no such thing as three-pointers, obviously he can still shoot from behind the three-point line, but he doesn't make any layups or dunks or floaters or mid-range jumpers. He just shoots threes, and that's a problem.
I think that's a fascinating idea for an article. What if the three-point line wasn't around? How the game would change. I think for some reason, I just think that's fascinating. The game is so much played outside of that arc now. And if you look at games, we just talked about the 70s and the 80s. In the 80s, for sure, the game was centered around the post. Now it's centered around the three-point line. It's wild. And I don't know. It's interesting conversation to have. I'm surprised, Isaac, and borderline disappointed that there's been no UD conversation at all in your weekly recap. Not cool.
Hey, I could always bring up UD. I mean, I'm trying to keep this professional, but even if I go unprofessional, no. UD, look, has simply been in and playing for the Heat a few minutes because Bam Adebayo has been injured 2 times this week. That left Dwayne Dedmon as Miami's starting center. But the Heat don't have an option behind Dwayne Dedmon. It really is Omer Yurtseven, who I know Jose would love to talk about as well. But the Heat somehow are not playing him, and they actually, again, put UD ahead of Yurtseven on that depth chart, and that's why UD has gotten a few minutes this week.
Yeah.
Again, more minutes than he has all of last season.
Not wild. And looked good in the time he got, for the most part.
Exactly.
Yeah. Outstanding. Well, always good to catch up on the Heat. Always good to talk to you. Again, Isaac is from partner site, flteams.com. Please go there if you haven't. He covers not just the Heat. They cover the Magic and all Florida teams. So with that, we're now going to bring in the rest of, what are you guys, panelists, I guess? That's probably the right word. Panelists. We're going to do something a little different, I guess. For the most part now, we would jump to question of the day, but Isaac has requested 11 seconds, I think. So Isaac, man, the floor is yours. What do you want to show us?
Okay, so I share on my screen if you'd like to add my shared screen. Look, this is, I'd say, the best shot in NBA history. All right, let's break it down quickly. This is only a few seconds. The Heat are down by 3 points. There's 0.6 seconds left. I'm just going to talk for a few seconds.
Okay, wait. Who's shooting right now? That's the Wiz shooting.
It's Kuzma.
Okay, so you purposefully miss is what you do here. Do they have any timeouts?
No.
Okay, you purposefully miss. Game's over. You cannot shoot the ball from that distance in 0.6 seconds. You can catch and shoot with 0.4, right? Derek Fisher famously did that. So if I'm coaching, I tell Kuz to miss this shot. That's okay. That's it. Oh, I mean, obviously, if he makes it, that's even better because you're up by 4, and with if you don't have any timeouts, I think the safer bet here is missing it on purpose.
Correct. Now, Jose, let me just for 1 second. How we got here. Kyle Kuzma made 2 free throws. It was 101 to 100. Obviously, the Heat fouled. He made 2 free throws, making it 103 to 100. Jimmy Butler got the inbound. The Heat had 12 seconds left. He obviously was waiting to get the last shot. He put up a wide open 3. Jimmy Butler, again, it's not a good 3-point shooter, but the Heat love to give him the ball in the final seconds. He missed the 3-pointer, and the game ended, except Bam Adebayo fouled Kuzma, who got the rebound, and there was still time left on the clock.
Okay.
0.6 seconds. Let's watch.
Okay.
Kuzma is shooting his second free throw out of the 2.
Okay, got it.
Full court for a make. He misses, bro.
No freaking way. No!
You gotta be kidding.
Oh my.
Get it and chuck it full court.
Wait. That's all I wanted.
Wait, did that go? I couldn't
No,
tell.
but it would have been the best shot, and it was so close.
Okay,
and
so you took this time to show us a shot that didn't go.
Correct, but it is it is the best miss in NBA history. I want to say that.
No, I thought Embiid had one last year, literally the same situation.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where literally, except it literally toilet bowled in and out, and it was just that same thing. It's like, man, I don't know what would have happened if they won
But
on
in all
that
fairness,
shot.
I think Embiid had a split more time.
I think he did. I think it.
Yes. But that's
1-6 is
impressive.
ridiculous.
And that was off in time. And by the way, I want to be a future broadcaster. I love the Heat broadcaster's reaction. And I also listened to the Wizards broadcaster. It was a miss. And I know you're like, why is Isaac showing, this miss? It wasn't made. But it's just amazing that he got the shot off with 0.6 seconds left. And full court, like the whole court. But I brought this up because Jose had fantastic breakdown. Kuzma should have just chucked it off the backboard.
Yeah, and when I saw that, I don't think that was an intentional miss at all. Because when you intentionally miss, you try to hit the back of the backboard. An intentional miss is a little different. I just think he missed that. I think he was trying to make it. And, listen, I think that's the higher percentage play in a sense, because Kuzma's probably 75, 80% free throw shooter. That is probably going to go, obviously, 75%, 80% of the time. You've got a 4-point lead now. There's no danger. But if you're gonna miss, you want to miss better than that. I don't think he meant to miss that shot. But anyway, that was interesting. Can I have my show back now?
Absolutely.
All right. No, that was fun. That was awesome. That was outstanding. And I'm glad that the video ran well. That was something I know, Isaac, we've struggled with in the past. But
I have like a strong Miami Heat built Pat Riley laptop. So.
All right. On that note, let's finish up with the question of the day. I don't want to say I struggled with a question for us this time around, but I kind of did. The NBA, in baseball, they call it the dog days of summer, right? When you're kind of in the middle of a long 162 game season. We're not at the dog days of basketball yet, but it was kind of a slow news week, kind of. Certainly compared to all the fights that we had and the other drama in week 4. But one thing did happen, and it rocked Los Angeles greater than any earthquake could have. And it has nothing to do with LeBron or AD or any player, but instead it had to do with the Staples Center. December 25th, Staples Center will be no more. It's now going to be called the Crypto.com Stadium, I guess. People are already calling it the Crypt, which is kind of a cool name, I think. But generally, people here in LA don't like it. You get really attached, right, to the names. And there's some uproar here, no doubt about it. Kenny Smith came out recently and said it'll all go away when Kobe gets his statue, which I think is probably accurate. But the question I have for you guys is, in general, do you think corporate naming rights are ruining the game? And we just kind of made it basketball related here. Dunk, no, they aren't. Everything's fine. Or yeah, it's a dud. They're definitely ruining the game. And I want to ask you, not just as it relates to stadium naming, but all the corporate naming that we're seeing now. I don't know if it's true for every game, but here in LA, the last 5 minutes of every Laker game are brought to you by somebody, right? The last 5 minutes. Timeouts are brought to you by. This free throw is brought to you by. That three-pointer was brought to you by. It is a little disappointing to watch a game and just be constantly hit with all these commercials. But the question is simple. Is it ruining the game? I'll save my comments for last. We'll just do this in order of how I see you guys. Isaac, you're up first. What do you think?
Yeah, so I don't have that much of a strong opinion, but I do have answers that support both sides. Let me start with the dunk, that corporate naming rights aren't ruining the game.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's for money purposes.
Yeah.
It's just another way to generate money, which will just help the game. And let's give the dud answer that naming rights are ruining the game. Look, I'd actually say that corporate naming rights are hurting the game more than they're ruining the game. Obviously, sports are played for the fans, right? Obviously, players want to make money and so on. But rules are put into place obviously for safety, but also to help improve, the fans and how they're involved in watching the game or maybe even being a part of the game. So, how Jose was talking about fans in LA being mad of the Staples Center name changing. Well, fans are annoyed, and that is hurting the game because you don't want fans to be annoyed. I don't think it's ruining the game, but again, that's hurting the game. You want fans to be happy. You want fans to love watching the game of basketball. And like you said, this free throw is brought to you by this. That could annoy fans watching the games.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make my final stance. Corporate naming rights aren't ruining the game, meaning dunk. They aren't, but they're hurting the game.
That's a great political answer. And I think that I think you're right. Noah, what do you think?
I'll say it's a dunk. Specifically for the crypto.com arena. If I read the Slack chat correctly, Evan was talking about when it was first named the Staples Center and how there was a bit of griping and complaining about that. But then Shaq and especially Kobe kind of dominated, and suddenly it wasn't that big of a deal. The name Staples Center had memories and history of its own. And now people are upset that it's getting changed from Staples Center to crypto.com arena.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think that they're just a side effect of the way the league has to function to make the money it makes. But at the same time, there are names like the Little Caesars Arena in Detroit and the Smoothie King Center.
The Smoothie King, yeah.
Yep. Where I feel like if fans got a little bit more creative with cool nicknames, that could be a bit more fun. But the only time I think that it's been an issue was when Philly changed their name. And due to banking acquisitions, the name of the arena changed 3 times in a month because a bank got bought out, and then that bank got bought out by Wells Fargo. So that's the only time where it got really annoying, in my opinion. Yeah. Otherwise, overall, they're a dunk. Just got to deal with it. Just like the sponsorships on the jerseys and on the court. It is what it is.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the sponsorship on the jerseys too. Before Staples, there was the Forum, and everybody loved the Forum because it was just the Forum. Then it became the Great Western Forum. Great Western was a bank at the time, and everybody was up in arms. Every single time this happens, everybody gets upset, and then we settle. We settle into it, and we accept it. It is what it is.
By the way, I loved in our Slack chat, and by the way, we love our Slack chat, right? It's always active. Someone said, I want to give credit to where it's due, but the Downtown Forum, I love that name, but it's just not really like a corporate naming, right? Because there's no company downtown. It's just called that.
Yeah, Evan, I'd never heard that before. And I've gone to Staples Center multiple times. Apparently folks called it the Downtown Forum, which is kind of cool. I never heard that before, but it's crypto.com now. Grin and bear it. Derek, as a Laker fan, what do you think?
It was definitely something that I was definitely taken back to, but it wasn't something I was completely shocked by, because once again, the Staples Center is named after a paper company. It's named after Staples. So I think sometimes we people are getting up in arms about, you're taking it from Staples to crypto. And then you're like, wait a minute, we're getting mad over a company over another company. And so like what Noah said, like, it's about the memories, right? It's about the Shaq and Kobe. It was about the Shaq and Kobe that made it so touching about why people are so passionate. People don't, and let's be real, like when you watch the Celtics, you're thinking it's still the Boston Garden. You don't think it's TD Garden, right? It's still the Boston Garden, right? And so to me, it's still, when you watch the games, it's about still the memories when you watch those teams. Now, the Smoothie King Arena, I don't know what New Orleans, I don't know what they're doing. First, you got the Smoothie King Arena. Then you name the team the Pelicans. Like, no wonder Zion wants to leave. Like, he's looking at it like, what universe did I get myself into? No wonder Anthony Davis wanted out. He saw the Pelicans, the Smoothie King Arena. He's like, nope, I'm not going to be a part of this. But the reason why I think it's actually a dunk is because June of this year, the NBA set a record deal of $1.46 billion in revenue from sponsorships,
Wow.
which obviously for the NBA is an all-time record.
Wow.
And they got on the NFL's corner because the NFL last year only made $1.4 billion in revenue from sponsorships last year.
Wow, that's
And
impressive.
Jose, like you mentioned with the patch, 27 NBA teams have a marketing patch on their jersey, and on average, they're roughly making each team $15 million from those patches. So that's extra added revenue, which we all understand. The NBA, I don't want to say desperately needs, but with the amount of salaries that are increasing, it's very important that they get increased revenue, whether through sponsorships, whether through companies buying stadiums, which, by the way, once again, never understand why billionaires need corporations to build their stadiums. But hey,
Right.
it's not. I'm not the billionaire, so how can I know? But what I think what was most concerning was with the patches because we looked at iconic moments, right? Jordan holding the pose, Kobe throwing the lob to Shaq, and we look at those still images and we're like, man, do I really want to see a logo on there? And then I rewatched Game 6 of the playoffs last year, of the finals last year, and then I rewatched Game 7 of the second round between Bucks and Nets, and I go, I don't care what Kate. I'm not watching the game, and I'm like, oh man, KD's going for 49, and I'm upset he has a patch on, right? Because you get into the flow of the game, and you get into the love of the game, you get into the competition, and everything goes away.
Yeah.
So I think as long as the revenue is good, sponsorships are bringing in top dollar. It's helping grow the game, not just nationally, but internationally, which the NBA always likes to brand themselves as, is that they're an international game, they're a world game, and I think it's always for the better. As long as these corporate, and now once again, we got some goofy stadium names, and they should really nickname them up. But outside of a few, like at the end of the day, like think about it, like the Crypto Center is gonna be called the Crypt, and it's gonna sound really cool.
Yeah.
Once the Lakers win a couple titles, you're gonna say, man, Jose's gonna tell, man, we're going to the Crypt tonight, man, and it's gonna sound so cool in the group chat.
Now imagine a Halloween night at the Crypt. Come on. It sounds cool. Sounds awesome. Cool. And listen, it could be the Clippers that win, right? All right, just throwing that out there.
Hopefully they're in their new stadium. Hopefully they're in their new stadium by that point.
That's true too. Go ahead, Isaac. What do you got?
I think me and Jose may have a nice opinion as website owners. Wouldn't we love to see a still picture of Steph Curry dropping 100 points with a patched FL Teams or the Peach Basket on it? That would be great.
Wow, I appreciate the optimism. Yeah, that would be great. That would be awesome. I got two thoughts. First off, thank you guys. This is honestly the best part of the week, just talking basketball with you guys, and these questions, I always learn something. It's always kind of interesting to me. I think across the board we're all fine with it. I think it's a dunk. It is what it is. I love that, Derek, you said, when you watch a game, Lakers versus Boston, you're not thinking about anything but that's the Boston Garden. I don't know. Is it Fleet? Is it this? Is it, I don't know. I don't care. I don't notice the emblem on the shoulder. I don't. I'm just watching the game. And I think a good game supersedes all of that. I think the concern, right, is the slippery slope argument, right? Where now all of a sudden it's this shoulder and this shoulder. And now it's the front and the back, and now, you've got arm sleeves that say Pepsi or something. I think there's a slippery slope. I don't know that we're going to get there. But that's the only, I think, real issue. Another thought, when you said paper company, my first thought was Dunder Mifflin, and I thought that would be cool. Let's give naming rights to fictional companies. So now you got the Dunder Mifflin Staples Center, or not Staples Center, the Dunder Mifflin Center. And I can't think of any other fictitious companies that would be cool. But that'd be kind of fun. But anyway.
Again, the Peach Basket Center would be pretty good.
We're not fictional. We exist.
Well, I'm not. I know, but I'm saying in general as a stadium name.
That would be epic. If anybody wants to talk to me, the Pelicans, if you guys are tired of Smoothie King and you want the rights to the Peach Basket, give me a call. We'll talk. I'm not paying for it. You guys just have to use my name, or our name. We'll work it out. All right. Outstanding. Great conversation. As always, that's our show. Week 5 of the 2021-22 NBA season is in the books. We'll be back next week after week 6 to once again run it back. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening.
The voice of the fan. Drop a bounce pass, throw down the rim rocker. Lay up off the glass right past the shot blocker. I follow through like Kobe's is money. You can cash it. For news on LA hoops, come over to Peach Basket. Up-to-date sports, post-game reports. Debates and play-by-play coming straight off the court. The voice of the fan making noise, causing havoc. Zone a man up, you can ask Peach Basket. The Peach Basket, come and tune on there.